Chapter 6, Section 2, Greek religion, Greek philosophy, and Greek literature. We start here with a message from Pericles.
Our Constitution does not copy the laws of neighboring states. We are a pattern to other cities rather than imitators. Our Constitution favors the many instead of the few. That's why it's called a democracy. If we look at the laws, we see they give equal justice to all. Poverty does not bar the way. If a man is able to serve the state, in short, I say that as a city, we are the school for all of Greece.
So, the golden age of Athens. These are the words of the Athenian leader Pericles. He was reminding the citizens that Athens was special. Pericles' words had special meaning too. They were spoken during the first year of a war with Sparta, another Greek city state. Eventually, it was Sparta that ended Athens' golden age of accomplishment. The years from 479 BCE to 431 BC are called the Golden Age of Athens. During the Golden Age, Athens grew rich from trade and from silver mined by slaves in regions around the city. Tributes, or payments made to Athens by its allies, meaning other city-states, added to Athens' wealth. Athenians also made amazing achievements in the arts and philosophy and literature, and democracy reached its high point. For about 30 years, Pericles was the most powerful man in Athenian politics. This well-educated and intelligent man had the best interests of his city at heart. When he made speeches to the Athenians, he could move them and persuade them. Pericles was a member of an aristocratic family, but he supported democracy. Around 460 BCE, he became the leader of a democratic group. He introduced reforms that strengthened the democracy. His most important change was to have the city pay a salary to its officials, which meant that poor citizens could afford to hold public office. The flourishing arts. Today, Pericles is probably best known for making Athens a beautiful city. In 280 BCE, during one of the city's many wars, the Acropolis of Athens had been destroyed. Pericles decided to rebuild the Acropolis and to create new buildings to glorify the city. He hired the Greek world's finest architects and sculptors for the project. Magnificent architecture. The builders of the new Acropolis brought Greek architecture to its highest point. Their most magnificent work was the Parthenon. Let's see if we can see all that at once. The Parthenon is a temple to the goddess Athena. The temple was made of fine marble. Rows of columns surrounded it on all four sides. Within the columns was a room that held the statue of Athena made of wood, ivory, and gold. The statue rose 40 feet high, as high as a 4-story building. Greek architects based the design of their buildings on a figure called the golden rectangle. A golden rectangle is one with the long sides about 1 2/3 times the length of the short sides. The Greeks thought golden rectangles made buildings look more pleasing to look at. Modern architects still use the golden rectangle for their building designs. So here we see the Parthenon, and we see the statue of Athena. It took the Athenians 15 years to build the Parthenon, considered the home on earth to the goddess Athena. Its beauty still crowns the city of Athens. The graceful riders above there are part of a sculptured procession. They were carved on the inner wall of the Parthenon. So let's talk more about that statue of Athena. Holding an owl. Lifelike sculpture. The great statue of Athena disappeared long ago. However, much of the sculptures on the inside and outside of the Parthenon still exist. Many of the scenes that decorate the Parthenon have 3 important characteristics. They are full of action, they show balance and order, they fill their space, and they are lifelike and accurate. These characteristics reflect the goal of Greek art. This goal was to present images of human perfection in a balanced and orderly way. Real people and animals wouldn't look as good as these sculptures. They would not be this perfect. We're switching gears now to talk about the Olympians. Greeks worshipped a family of gods and goddesses called the 12 Olympians. Each ruled different areas of human life. The chart here gives you more information. Might need to zoom in, but we have Zeus. His Roman name is Jupiter. He's the king of the sky and the weather. He's the king of the gods and goddesses. And his symbol is a lightning bolt. We have Hera. Her Roman name is Juno. She's the queen of the sky and women in marriage. She's the queen of the gods and goddesses. Her symbol is a peacock. We have Poseidon, Roman name Neptune. He's the king of the seas and earthquakes. His symbol is the trident. We have Demeter. Her Roman name is Ceres. She's the goddess of agriculture, and her symbol is the cornucopia. We have Apollo, keeps his name for the Romans. He is the god of music and prophecy and education. His symbol is the laurel wreath. And then Artemis is his twin sister, Roman name Diana. She's the goddess of hunting and children. And her symbol is the bow and arrow. Athena's Roman name is Minerva. She's the goddess of war and wisdom and pottery. And her symbol is the owl. Ares is Mars in Roman, in Latin. And he is the god of war and battles. His symbol is the spear. Aphrodite has the Roman name of Venus. She's the goddess of love and beauty. Her symbol is the apple. Hermes is the Roman god Mercury. He's the messenger god, and his symbol is the winged boots or shoes. We have seen those before. Hephaestus is the Vulcan, and he is the god of metalworking and fire. And so his symbol is the hammer and anvil, and Dionysus has the Roman name Bacchus, and he was the god of the vine, so wine and parties, and his symbol is the grapes. Those are the Greek pantheon. Greek religion. Wherever the Greeks lived, they built temples to their gods. Since the gods had human forms, they also had human characteristics. The main difference between gods and humans to the Greeks were that they believed their gods were perfect in form and had awesome power. And more importantly, they believed their gods were immortal, which means they lived forever. In addition to the 12 Greek gods, great gods led by Zeus, and the Greeks also worshipped many lesser ones. They honored mythical heroes like Achilles and Odysseus and Hector, who had done great deeds during the Trojan War. The stories of Achilles, of course, is told in the Iliad. We're switching gears now to Greek science and philosophy. Most Greeks believed their gods were the source of all natural events, but a few thinkers disagreed. About 150 years before the Golden Age of Athens, some people thought about ways besides myths to understand the world. These people came to be called philosophers, or people who use reason to understand natural events in the world. They believed that people could use the power of their minds to solve problems. One of the first philosophers was Thales. He believed that water was the basic material for the world. Everything was made from it. Over the years, other philosophers had other ideas about the universe, but the Greeks didn't do experiments. They were careful observers and they were good thinkers. Democritus, who lived in the 400s BCE, thought everything was made out of tiny particles that he called atoms. More than 2,000 years later, science proved that he was right. During the Golden Age and later, several important philosophers taught in Athens. One was a man called Socrates. People in the marketplace of Athens couldn't help but notice this sturdy, round-faced man. He was there at all hours of the day, eagerly discussing wisdom and goodness with others. Socrates wanted people to consider the true meaning of quality like justice and courage. To do this, he asked difficult questions that made people question their beliefs. Sometimes they became angry because Socrates would show them that they didn't know what they were talking about. Know thyself was his most important lesson. Socrates' questions frightened many Athenians. The man challenged all the values of Athens. In 399 BCE, Socrates was brought to trial. The authorities accused him of dishonoring the gods and misleading young people. He was condemned to death. Friends visited Socrates in prison and urged him to escape and flee, but he replied that escape would be unacceptable behavior. He did, however, calmly drink poison and die. Switching gears again, we go to Greek drama, and we have masks here that represent the two genres of Greek drama, which are comedy and tragedy. Greek drama. Today, what do today's plays, movies, and television shows have in common with Athens? The answer is surprising. The Athenians were the first to write dramas. Among the city's greatest achievements were the plays written and produced during the 400s BCE during the Golden Age. These plays soon became popular all over the Greek world. Tragedy. Some of the most famous Greek plays were tragedies. A tragedy is a serious story that usually ends in disaster for the main character. Often, tragedies told of fictional humans who were destroyed when forced to make impossible choices. A Greek tragedy consisted of several scenes that featured the characters of the story, and then between the scenes, a chorus chanted or sang poems or praised the gods. Performances of tragedies were part of contests held during religious festivals. At the main festival at Athens in the spring, three playwrights entered 4 plays apiece in the contest. The city chose wealthy citizens to pay the bills for the dramatic contests. And last but not least, comedy. Comic writers also competed in the dramatic festivals. During the 400s BCE in Athens, these poets wrote comedies that made fun of well-known citizens and politicians and made jokes about the customs of the day. But because of the freedom in Athens, people accepted them as humor and jokes. Here's a picture of the Theater at Epidaurus. This is one of the most famous Greek theaters. The seating area held 14,000 people and was built into a hillside. The round space, or the orchestra, was where the action took place and the chorus danced and sang. The theater is still used today for plays because it's so well constructed that everyone can easily hear the words of the play. It's pretty cool. All right, that's where we leave off for today.